Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, my name is Razil Fauzan, and today I would like to explain to you about the story of English literature in Edwardian era or Edwardian period. And then, I hope you will understand what I explained to the next slide, and then you get the information about this era. So, the definition about the Edwardian era or Edwardian period. The Edwardian era was from 1901 up until the start of World War One in 1914, despite it having ended in 1910 with the end of King Edward V's reign. And Edwardian literature was a transition from Victorian era when Queen Victoria was on the throne in 1937 until 1901 to when her son King Edward VII took her throne in then 1901 until 1910. Uh, Hence, new literary ideas began flourish as the years passed by. On the one hand, King Edward VII's rule seemed to confirm that a less prejudiced era had begun. Now, the characteristic about the era, the Edwardian period was mostly known for its elegance and luxury among the rich and powerful in Britain, but also for moral looseness than there was in the Victorian period and its failure to prepare for the challenge of the 20th centuries, particularly in World War One, an era of international peace, international security, and relative prosperity. It was a period ushered in by the conclusion of the short African War in the 1902 and by the consolidation of Britain's imperial possessions. To some, it seemed to have symbolically closed, not with the end of the king's reign, but with the death of Captain Scott and his party in the Antarctic, having failed to reach the South Pole before the better organized Norwegian monsoon. In March 1912, and a month later, with the terrible loss of life as a unsinkable Titanic sank in the North Atlantic. Now, I'm gonna talking about the characteristic about literature in Edwardian period or Edwardian era. The literature in that era is the end of the Victorian era, marked a new beginning of for literature in the land with a fresh idea and greater need leading the way. Edwardian literature would go on to be intense social and political for age to come, and Edwardian novels would go on to start a new style of writing that would be prevalent for a long time come. So the ambivalence and restlessness of the new millennium were to find representation earlier than expect in the boundaries of Edwardian literature itself. The main propagator of a whole new system style of writing in this era was none other than George Bernard Shaw himself. He would go on to use his work to question the society and the structure of politics in that era, the institution and norms of marriage and trust forward by the society and the challenge of female emancipation. Well, I'm gonna talking about the example of literature in Edwardian era or period. If you show this picture, this is the Cliffhanger trilogy by Arnold Bennett. This is a trilogy of semi-autobiographical novels, and then the first and the best known book of the three is Clayhanger in the 1910. It was followed by Hilda Lesway in the 1911 after this book published, and this Twine in the 1915. They were published together in the 1925. Set in the late 19th centuries in Repotter's town in industrial Midlands, Clayhanger begins the story of Edwin Clayhanger as he is attempting to wrest control of his life from the tyrannical and pragmatic fathers, repressed and shy. Repressed and shy. He falls in love with Hilda Lisway, a bright young woman who, despite her attraction to Edwin, marries another man. After many years, he finds her living a broken, destitute life. Her husband imprisoned for bigamy, and her child is considered illegitimate. In spite of all, Clayhanger still loves Hilda. That's the short synopsis about this novel, The Clayhanger Family, the trilogy of uh, semi-autobiographical novels by Arnold Bennett. This is the masterpiece literature in that era. Well, we arrive in the interesting one about this presentation. It is about the lesson learned that I get after reading this historical background of Edwardian literature. The first I get is not only about the Edwardian period has been named after King Edward VII, who succeeded uh, Queen Victoria in the year accession of King Edward on the throne. The glorious Victorian age of England came to a sharp end, but the fact about Edwardian clothes is a woman wore several layers of clothes. That's the interesting point in that era because uh, the first layer consists of her undergarment. The undergarment was a combination of vest and pants. It extend up to the knees. Then on the top of that corset was worn. Many of them wore silk pads near the hip region and also under the arms. And the Edwardian's time were often referred to as the golden age. Life of the rich revolved around social parties, banquet. Those who attend these parties were elaborate dressed men and women with high society manners and polished or outlook towards life. So I will adding this lesson learned that I get that literary criticism and short story also achieve popularity after Bradley was a famous literary critic. Newspaper also became important, and so did media barons. Thus, they're important in promoting novel increase Edwardian novels. However, continue to have some the best variation that no literature has ever seen before. So, because my background is journalist, so this is point that I add is very interesting because that in that era is the beginning of newspaper had been published. So the novel is uh, the best variation of marketing in literature. Well, that's all my presentation and explanation about this material about Edwardian era or period in historical of English literature. So I hope you understand what I explained to you, and I hope you Forgive me if I had mistaken from my presentation, and I wish you understand get my point in this presentation. And thank you so much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.